Welcome to the thefogvlog.
Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of Mixer Review for 2019. And when you clicked on this, and oh yeah, welcome to everybody in live chat. Kind of forgot that this is a live premiere. Thanks for joining us here. But yeah, if you've clicked on this, you know that we are talking about Zugmaschine today. And, you know, Zugmaschine has been a big, or Uwe, he's been a big supporter of our show. Only very recently, he's found our content. He subscribed. He's in touch. He's on our Facebook groups and contributing. I think he's just an all-round cool guy, you know. We only found out, myself and Rudy only found out, I think it was in December in 2018, that he was Zugmaschine. Now, so because he's so active and just generally nice guy, you know, I decided to go and look at his mixes. He's got a couple of good mixes out there. However, I don't think he's got that many ratings, which makes him a really good candidate for what we do here. We want to spotlight mixers, and specifically for mixers who are putting in the effort. They are contributing, and not only, you know, by helping people in groups and on forums and stuff like that, but also, you know, they're on live shows. They're part of the community, right? That's the perfect candidate. So, yeah, thumbs up for Uwe for being there and supporting our show and many other shows, right? So I'll kick off. I mixed up yellow ecstasy, right? And this is a straight up custard. So, you know, all the custard fans out there, go and look at this recipe here. I'll just go through the ingredients quickly. It's 0.5% FA cookie, 1.75% FA custard premium, 1.75% French vanilla, 0.2% cap super sweet, 2.25 vanilla custard, that's FA, and then 2.75% TFA vanilla custard. All right, so that's that is the recipe, but I'll kick off with the custard base, right? The custard base here is FA custard premium, FA vanilla custard, and TFA vanilla custard. So we can deduce already there what kind of custard we're looking at here. Of course, that TFA vanilla custard, buttery notes in there, custard premium, really, really good all-round custard, not a long steep, and FA vanilla custard, lemon note in there with good butter notes. So we can get an idea of what we expect. But I was really impressed by this custard base. I don't do a lot of custard vapes anymore. I did do in the past, but yeah, it's an extremely flavorful combo. So yeah, I can recommend this base for anybody that likes a bit of a lemon note in their custard base. It doesn't feel too rich, but just feels right for something like an all-day vape custard. Now I know Uwe, he uses mouth-to-lung vape, right? So I think if he was mixing this recipe for himself and he was going nuts on, you know, the deeper notes, that will all be lost anyway in an MTL, you know, because you'll get some low notes and you'll get some high notes and a little bit of the mid notes, but not that much, right? So, excuse me. I think, you know, this is designed for that. But, you know, I tried it in my direct lung system or vape, and, you know, it was beautiful. It was a rich custard, but it wasn't too, I mean, it was a beautifully balanced custard, but just not too rich, right? And I think it's evident here if you go and look at the percentages it's mixed at, that there was a lot of tinkering around with balancing before he came out with the final combo of this custard base. The cookie, FA cookie, it was used here to add some texture to the mix, maybe fluff it out, perhaps even add a little bit of greasiness. It has that benefits as well. and then also add to the overall butter notes in the mix, but it doesn't stick out whatsoever. So it was definitely used as an additive. French vanilla. Okay, I mean, you think, okay, there's already, we've got custard premium, we've got vanilla custard, and we've TFA and vanilla custard FA in there. There's enough vanilla. But I think what Zugmaschine or Uwe, what he's mastered is working with vanilla, because he just decided, screw all of that cheap vanilla taste. I'm going to use what's in there, but I'm going to top it off with French vanilla, which is, you know, an extremely expensive tasting vanilla. Also, you know, beautiful vanilla to work with. So yeah, that's what I think he did with the French vanilla in there. As I said before, I'm not a huge custard vapor anymore, but I feel like there's dimension in this custard. You know, the problem that I normally have with custard is I'm just getting custard, you know, and the vanilla is all part of the custard. The creaminess and the butterness is just one note. And I think what Uwe has done right here is, with that vanilla top note, he's created two layers, you know, so you can get the vanilla at the top, and you get the you know, the creamy custard in the middle, and the round buttery notes at the end. So there's definitely more dimension to this custard, which I think is not a very easy task to do. And I have to say that I think this is a successful mix. It's definitely sitting at about a 4 out of 5 for me as far as custards go. Dietz, you mixed up something as well?
I mixed up citronella ice cream, or citronella ice cream, which is a citron vanilla ice cream. He's got 2% TPA Bavarian cream in there, 1.5% FA lemon Sicily, 4% TPA vanilla bean ice cream, and 1.5% vanilla custard. Now, the first thing I expected was ice cream, vanilla ice cream, a cold vanilla ice cream. But this is a bit more on the darker, or a roasted type of vanilla almost. I think it's because of the Bavarian cream. It also tends to make it like a milky custard for me, more than an ice cream, but still good nonetheless. I started vaping it from the 3rd day. The recommended steep days is 5 days. It does mark it as a shake and vape, but for me, a shake and vape, I feel that lemon Sicily was, in my case, it was a little bit harsh that 2nd and 3rd day. I started vaping it later the 3rd day, and by the 4th day, the harshness kind of pulled back a little bit. He mentions here the lemon is fading a little, but after 5 days, it's exactly how I like it. Now, in this case, I agree with him in this recipe. It works very well from the 5th day steep for me. The vanilla custard brings in a lot of texture onto the vanilla bean ice cream, and that Bavarian cream just kind of keeps that dark, kind of creme brulee type of dark tinge to the mix. And for me, still, it creams it up a little bit, but more in a liquid form. It is good. I enjoyed it. He mentions here that you can add some sweetener and cooling agent. I added both of them, and the cooling agent made it more to a ice cream profile for me. The sweetener, I add sweetener always in everything, so I added sweetener from the first mix, but I preferred the one with the cooling agent. It was a good recipe. Liam, what did you mix?
I mixed up the nana berry custard, so a strawberry custard. He had it down as a 3-day steeper, so I tried it on 3 days, and I also tried it on 5 days as well. 3 days, everything was there, just needed that extra day or two for me just to bring the creams out a little bit more. For the recipe, it's 4% LA banana cream, 0.5% of Inawera custard, 2.25% FA custard premium, 4.5% TFA strawberry ripe, 3.25% cap sweet strawberry. Now, what I found with this was the banana and the strawberries actually blend really well together, because I find LA banana cream slightly candy-ish. It's not full-on candy banana, but it has got that candy tint to it. And with the strawberries that he's picked as well, that actually gives you a nice syrupy, sweet, almost candy strawberry, but not quite full candy. So they actually blended really well together. And then they sit on top of this really nice vanilla custard. With the FA custard premium being at 2.25%, that's actually a nice creamy, eggy vanilla custard on its own. But then with that 0.5% of Inawera custard in there, it just pushes it that little bit more to be a little bit thicker, with a little bit more vanilla on there, and it pushes the egg notes up ever so slightly, so it actually makes it a really nice, rich, thick custard base. Everything is blended really well together, with the strawberry coming first for me. Then it falls onto the banana. Then, as I said, you get the really nice thick custard base. I'd be quite happy to actually give this a 4 out of 5, even though it's strawberry custard. I know it's been done a lot of times. Oof has actually done this really, really well. Richard?
Right, my first one that I mixed up was his melting raspberry ice cream. Now, for me, melting raspberry ice cream brings a very clear picture of a white ice cream with a sort of dark red raspberry ripple in it, but when it's melted, the whole thing becomes a sort of delicate pink hue. So what I'm expecting and what I'm looking for is an absolutely equal balance of that rich, creamy, buttery underlying ice cream base, blended perfectly with a sweet, perhaps slightly artificial, jammy, syrupy type of bright raspberry note in it. Let's just go over the recipe first, and then I'll give my notes. He also mentions that it's got an almond. The description is a super yummy and delicate melting raspberry ice cream with a soft almond aftertaste. So the recipe is 1% of FA almond, 1.75% of FA raspberry, 0.5% of FA blackcurrant, 1% FA cream fresh, 0.25% of dragon fruit to make the raspberry pop, 1% of FA Madagascar vanilla, 0.75% of TFA malted milk, 4.5% of liquid barn vanilla ice cream, and 2.5% of cap vanilla whipped cream. Now, he recommends 7 to 21 steep days. I made mine on the 12th of December, so I'm looking now at around about 34 steep days. Now, I don't know if fading is an issue on this one, but my first impression when tasting it was that the raspberry wasn't quite popping enough for me. It wasn't at that, that perfectly homogenized, blended sort of vibe that you get from a melted ice cream. Instead, what I was tasting quite strongly was the FA almond. I was getting a sort of nutty, earthy note from the mix, which was quite surprising because I was expecting sort of sweet, syrupy raspberry. Instead, I was getting this kind of nutty, earthy vibe in with the raspberry and the cream. So now I'm not sure if that was a case of the FA raspberry maybe fading out a bit, but anyway, it is what it is. What I like about Uwe is that he, particularly with this recipe, is he suggests flavor substitutions. He says, if you don't like the liquid barn vanilla ice cream, you can use TFA. If you don't like FA cream fresh or don't have it, you can use Vienna cream or cap sweet cream. And he also talked about replacing the FA blackcurrant with perhaps a second raspberry to complement the FA beryl. Now, what I am getting a little bit from the raspberry is that sort of green stalk note that you sometimes get in Inawera fruits, particularly the shisha strawberry. Again, I don't know if that is due to the blending of the FA blackcurrant and the TFA dragon fruit with the FA beryl. My initial sense was that maybe the beryl was a little bit light, the FA raspberry at 1.75%. It's not the strongest fruit flavor that FA makes, so I would be inclined to maybe push it up a little bit more. But I think what I would be inclined to do with this is to mix it again and to maybe just boost the raspberry a bit and maybe cut the FA almond a little bit back. It's a strange thing because FA almond is not an offensive flavor at all. It's sort of mild and gentle, and it fits well with most things. But my sense with this recipe, and again, this is palate specific, it might absolutely hit the spot for others. But for me, the almond is a little bit too prominent compared to the raspberry. He says that it's a raspberry ice cream with a soft almond aftertaste. I'm getting the almond a little bit more prominently with that, and the raspberry maybe not quite enough. I think the cream base is okay. I would again be tempted to go more for the TFA vanilla bean ice cream than the liquid barn. I think it hits a little bit harder. So I would probably bump the cream and the raspberry up a bit and maybe take the almond down a little bit. But that said, there's nothing offensive about the mix. It's not that it's off or that it's unpleasant in any way. It's just that when I read melting raspberry ice cream, it sort of conjures up mental images, which I'm just missing a little bit in this one. But nevertheless, an interesting mix. Some unusual flavor combinations there, like adding the TFA malted milk, adding the FA blackcurrant to the raspberry, adding in FA almond into a fruit ice cream. These are all very different ideas. So I would certainly recommend that people give this a go, see if it suits your palate. I think I can bend it to suit my palate, but it would just require maybe a slight rebalancing of the flavor levels in there. But certainly an interesting concept, and thanks, Uwe, for coming up with something fresh and a raspberry ice cream that doesn't just rely on a sort of standard template tacked together. So yeah, innovative mix. Theo.
Yeah, I was hoping somebody was going to mix that up and talk about it. So thanks, Richard, because I was also speaking that one out. I was just missing one or two flavors there. I'm glad I picked this one. I've got an opportunity to talk about it now. Next one is Cool Men's Custard. So, looking through Uwe's stuff, what I'm seeing is vanilla, what I'm seeing is custard, so this is obviously the things that he works well with, and it's quite evident if you go through his recipes. This mix here, on the higher side on concentrates, it's got 8 concentrates, so probably not the easiest if you have limited concentrates to mix up. But the recipe goes 0.5 in a Wera biscuit. Okay, so this is a limited resource, and I used some of the OG biscuit here because I was feeling this recipe. If you don't have the OG in Wera biscuit, I don't know what this is going to taste like, but yeah, let's go through the rest. 1.25 cap buttercream, 0.5 TFA coconut extra, 3.25 FA custard premium, 0.5 FA Madagascar or vanilla classic, 1.75 cap New York cheesecake, 2% cap sugar cookie, 0.75 TFA vanilla bean ice cream. Okay, so let's talk about the cookie base. So there were 3 things used here. So it was biscuit, buttercream, and coconut to create a cookie base. And I'm definitely stealing this. I really like that, especially, I don't know, anywhere a biscuit and that coconut extra is delicious. The buttercream to add a little bit of waxiness, feel, I think, happens as well. So the biscuit itself is an extreme success for me. I really, really enjoyed that. Then, in the middle, what you're getting from this vape, you're getting a very rich custard. So he mixed up custard premium, of course, Madagascar, vanilla classic, and New York cheesecake, and vanilla bean ice cream. Those 4 concentrates are all adding to the custard filling of this cookie. And yet again, 100% a good success. I think the New York cheesecake helps thicken things up in the custard, as well as the TFA vanilla bean ice cream as well. That helps add that body, that those buttery custard vanilla kind of notes. But yet, like I spoke about the other one as well, he likes a good quality vanilla in his mixes, so he goes in with that Madagascar vanilla classic to make the whole thing a little bit more authentic tasting, right? And he did very well here. I'm getting good dimension from this mix. He obviously knows what he's doing, like I mentioned before, working with vanillas and working with custard. So I'm glad I chose this. It vapes extremely smooth. I tried this all the way through. I stirred this for 2 days. Or I tried it immediately, then stirred it for 2 days, then tried it, and then left it for the rest of the 7 days total steep time. And yeah, man, I enjoyed this. This was super nice, smooth vape, full mouthfeel with dimension in there, because you're getting 2 layers. You're getting custard layer, you're getting biscuit layer. You know what I mean? And I think the coconut kind of helps that biscuit to be multi-dimensional, or helps the whole recipe be multi-dimensional, because the cookie kind of layer sits at the top, and that custard layer sits underneath that, right? And that gives you an idea of you eating this bakery deliciousness. Anybody who likes bakeries with custard fillings that you get from the supermarket or whatever the case, I can recommend this mix to you. I actually want to just go ahead and give this a full banger. I really enjoyed this one. Well done, Uwe. This was a fantastic mix, and I recommend this one, and I'm going to put a rating on ATF for you for this as well. Thanks very much. Dietz?
Okay, so my second one is the lemon vanilla ice cream. Now, this was, out of the 2 I mixed, the one I enjoyed the most, definitely. His description pretty much puts this on par with my opinion about it. This is a mix he did for the DIY Down Under August challenge. He's got 3% cap lemon meringue pie in it, 4% vanilla bean ice cream, cap vanilla bean ice cream, and 1.5% FA vanilla custard. Now, before I read these notes, I'm going to read mine. He's definitely correct on his notes of this recipe. For me, it's a sweet, zesty tart. It has a sweet, zesty tart and tart flavor on the inhale, with a very creamy vanilla on the exhale, leaving it all rounded off perfectly on the aftertaste as soon as that exhale is out. He has a lot going on here on the profile in terms of the zesty lemon on the inhale and the complete vanilla ice cream on the exhale, with that blended profile of both on the aftertaste. This is definitely great if you like something that's quick to mix. I mean, it's 3 concentrates. Now, if you guys know me and everything I've reviewed before, if it comes to simplicity and 3, small, like 3 and 4 amount concentrate recipes. That's why I like the 1 to 3 or 3 to 1 challenges. There's some really good recipes out of that. And in the same way, this is one of the best recipes for me. His steep is recommended for 7 days, but I started vaping this from the 2nd day, and I've been vaping it since day 2. It's really delicious the way the lemon and the ice cream comes together. For simplicity on 3 flavors, this is a really good recipe, and the fact that it's 8.5% total flavors, it just adds to that. I have added super sweet to it, and I've also added ice cream on a second batch. Sorry, not ice cream, WS23 on a second batch that I made, because I feel ice cream needs to be a cool beverage. So I added a bit of WS, and it works perfectly with that too. I prefer the one with the WS in it, but I would not mind vaping it without the WS. in it. This is definitely for me a delicious recipe. That zesty tart flavor from the lemon. That's what I was expecting when I mixed the other recipe he has, the citronella ice cream. Now, I'm not sure if this recipe was derived from the citronella ice cream, but if I look at the dates, the citronella ice cream was first, and then the most recent one is the lemon vanilla ice cream. If this is supposed to be the replacement or improvement, it's definitely my preference of the two because of that lemon. That just the way the lemon profile explodes on that inhale, and then you get a ice cream on the exhale with a blended taste of both. It works beautifully for a 3-ingredient recipe. I would give it a full banger. Give this a mix if you like lemon. I'm sure with the steep, eventually, I mean, I got to the 5th day of the steep. I think there was like maybe a mil left, but on the 5th day, that's why I had to mix a second batch. I never made the full 7-day steep. But on the 1st day, the meringue really expanded or puffed it up in texture for me. So that also, it just gets better with the steep. It's a simple recipe, it's quick to mix, and the flavor is so, I mean, there's so much flavor there for 8% and 3-ingredient recipe. Very well done, and thank you for this recipe. I enjoyed it a lot. Give it a mix, guys, definitely.
Yep, sorted it out. My second mix was dessert chow. Which, to me was like a vanilla hazelnut wafer. Go through the recipe first, and then I'll go through my notes. So it's 1.75% in a Wera biscuit, 11% Mom and Pop's Calipita chow, 1% FA cookie, 1.75% French vanilla Capella, 0.75% FA Hazel Grove, and 0.75% FA marzipan. Now, on Uwe's notes, he actually says about he combined the Inawera biscuits with the FA cookie to actually give you a full-on cookie taste, and then the hazelnuts and the FA marzipan are actually in there to enhance the nut texture from the Calipita chow. Now, to me, this does actually work really well. I get the biscuit coming through nicely, and which enhances like the wafer taste from the Calipita chow. And then I get the hazelnut then with a very, very slight almond on the exhale. Now, the almond is how I taste FA marzipan. I actually get a lot of almond from it, whereas I know some get cherry. But that actually works really well to enhance the nut notes in there. Now, with the French vanilla, actually gives a really nice, light vanilla, like a vanilla extract, which is what makes this taste like, to me, like a vanilla hazelnut wafer. The only, not a problem, it's possibly my palate, is on extended vaping, it does get a little bit dry, but I think that could be alleviated with just adding a very slight amount of cream to it, only a little bit, just like 0.25%, something like that, just to bring the moistness up a little bit. But other than that, it would have been a perfect recipe. So I'm happy as it is to give her a 4 out of 5. If I didn't get that dryness, I'd be quite happy to give her a full banger. I'd be happy vaping this all day long. And Dietz, you had something else you wanted to add?
Sorry, I got so excited with that recipe, the lemon vanilla ice cream, that I actually forgot to read Uwe's own description. That was spot on the flavor for me. So he goes on and says here, a simple but dairy tasty lemon vanilla ice cream with hints of pie. The lemon, mostly on the inhale, fades a little but is enough to be by a good counterpart to bring the vanilla in the front by exhale. the pie gives it a little bit of texture. It's the game between the sourness and the vanilla that brings the taste in front. Definitely 100% agree with that. It is spot on to what the description says. Sorry, Rich, what did you mix?
Thanks, Deets, for just just
Sorry,
that
guys. I mean,
intermission.
you
there.
have to.
It's just
I had to put that out there.
Right, my second one was Hubert's lemon cheesecake. Now, my first thought upon reading the recipe, as one does, was to think to myself, Uwe hat 3 verschiedene Käsekuchen mit süßer Sahne und einen großen Tropfen Zitrone verwendet. Which, for those of you who don't speak German, including me, means Uwe has used 3 different cheesecakes with sweet cream and a large dollop of lemon, which kind of gives you an idea as to what the recipe is. Let me just go through it and then we'll see. The cheesecakes are 2% Inawera Yeswi cheesecake, 2.5% 1-on-1 vanilla custard cheesecake, and 3% cap New York cheesecake with 0.5% of FA cookie just to zoot up the crust a little bit. He then adds 0.75% FA almond, 0.5% of TFA sweet cream, which is presumably just to add a little bit of zing to that cheesecake filling. And then the top note is 3.25% of FA lemon Sicily. So it's a fairly simple recipe, quite easy to understand what's going on there. And for me, it works really well. Part of the problem with cheesecake recipes that I've found is that they don't actually taste like cheesecakes. They don't taste like something that is baked and has come out of an oven and that has a crust. You often just get this sort of smooth, bland, creamy sort of feel to it. There isn't texture to it. There isn't that baked feel to it. And this base is actually a banger. That the Inawera, the OO, and the cap cheesecakes with that little bit of TFA sweet cream and that FA cookie actually nails a baked cheesecake very, very well. The FA lemon Sicily, ordinarily lemon isn't my favorite fruit top note, but in this case it works really well because a cheesecake gives you quite a sweet, a browned, a crusty, a creamy type of vibe going on with it. That lemon Sicily just gives you that little spike, that little touch of tartness that just complements and counterpoints that sweet, crusty feel. And the two hang together very well. It reads to me like a cheesecake with sort of lemon spritzed on top of it. The lemon isn't fully integrated into that cheesecake filling, which works perfectly for me. It works as a topping. But that cheesecake combination is really, really good. I don't really get too much of the almond in there, but it's obviously helping with something because overall the mix hangs together really well. But yeah, slightly tart lemon Sicily top note with that gorgeous cheesecake underneath it. So I would give this a tip of the banger. This gets a 4 out of 5 for me, which is fairly unusual, but I think Uwe's done great work with this. This is it's a new type of cheesecake mix that we haven't seen before. The addition of the sweet cream, those 3 different cheesecakes, which is not a very common combination of cheesecakes, and it works really well. So thanks for that, Uwe. This is an authentic cheesecake that I will buy readily as having come just out of the oven. So good recipe.
Yeah, and that is the first time Richard has ever taken his tip out. So, Uwe, that's a milestone for this series. Congratulations. Anybody else interested to go and look at Uwe's recipes? It's Zugmaschine on all the flavors. I'm not sure if he's got an ELR profile, but he can leave that in the comments below. But just wanted to thank him for all the recipes he's put out there. I don't think there's a lot of a lot of reviews done on them. So guys, you know, if you mixing up custards or vanillas, puddings, you know, maybe some cookies and bakeries kind of thing, go and check out his profile, mix up some of his stuff, go and leave those reviews down there. But yeah, finally, thanks a lot, Uwe. Also, thank you so much, Fresh03, for letting us run this show right after yours. You can look in the description below some of the channels that we also follow, that we collaborate with. You know, is Hibba DeRay, Fresh03, of course, DIY Down Under, and Daytime Frank. So go and check out those channels as well. But finally, guys, thank you so much for joining us in chat. Thank you for watching the show. And yeah, leave your comments below if you need any more information. And I hope Uwe was here. He said he might be able to be here. And if you are, thank you so much. Cheers, man. Guys, have a good week.
Cheers.
Thanks, Uwe. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Uwe.